Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel.
Here.
Mr. Ushimura.
Here.
Ms. Bradley.
Here.
Mr. Gilbert.
Here.
Mr. Detzel.
Here.
Okay, we do not have a legislative update tonight. Or Butler Tech update tonight. So we will move right into, do we have any reports tonight from certificated or licensed employees? Any reports from classified? Are there any reports from school-related organizations? I have not received any requests for community comments. So we will move right into certificated and licensed personnel. Todd?
Yes, the first item is certificated licensed personnel items. It is certified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the certified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is classified personnel, classified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions on classified personnel? Motion passed 5-0.
Good evening. Next is the minutes for the regular meeting on August 26th. The treasurer recommends that the Board of Education dispense with reading of and approve the regular meeting minutes as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections for our regular meeting on August 26th? Motion passed 5-0.
Next is a resolution authorizing the issuance of school improvement general obligation refunding bonds. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance of school improvement general obligation refunding bonds not to exceed $70.7 million. What this is to take advantage of the inverted interest curve so that we can save our community millions of dollars by refunding our master facilities bond projects bonds. This is similar to like refinancing your house, so by taking the bonds that we've already sold and reselling them at a lower interest rate will save our community millions of dollars. The district does not receive any revenue for this. All this does is save the community money in the future over the life of the bonds.
Similar to what we did with the Montford Heights bonds.
Correct. We've refunded our Montford Heights bonds actually twice in the course of their issuance. So with that, I recommend that the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of school improvement general obligation refunding bonds.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions with that? Okay. Motion passed 5-0. Amy, thank you for staying on top of that.
Next is a memorandum of understanding with Colerain Township to establish a TIF district for the Duke Energy site. This is an MOU to start the conversation for a make whole for the district as a make whole for a TIF district at the Duke Energy site if the township were to TIF that district. The township intends to use the TIF proceeds from the TIF district to expand sidewalks between on Colerain Avenue at John Rose to help with pedestrian safety.
So this will still keep us, we would get our normal tax dollars.
It would be a make whole, and it would be in addition to our normal tax dollars. It would provide the district what we would have received had the property been not TIF, if being TIF, then the school would receive the exact same amount of money we would have received if, for the property through, if it had no TIF. So a TIF is a tax incremental financing, which instead of every commercial property paying the same amount of taxes, and then when a new property comes on, the rest paid less and one pays more, we receive the same amount of tax dollars. With a TIF district, it lets the township collect all the tax dollars on that property and then reinvest that in infrastructure for the community. By a make whole, what they would do is they would give the district, give ourselves what we would receive on that property in taxes, in addition to what everybody else is paying in taxes. So with that, I recommend that the Board of Education approve a memorandum of understanding with Colerain Township to start the conversation of a TIF district for the new energy site on Colerain.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any other questions?
Does anybody that is sitting out there understand what a TIF is? Would you like to know what a TIF is? Because it's kind of complicated, but I think Amy put it in very pedestrian terms, what a TIF is. No one? All right.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, and next is a memorandum of understanding with Colerain Township to establish a TIF district at the Sovereign Road development site. This is an MOU to start the conversations to allow the township to create a TIF district for commercial property of housing development at the end of Sovereign Road. And their intention as a township is to use the TIF proceeds to extend the road through Pippin, onto Pippin, so that it would alleviate traffic off of Colerain Avenue and another road through Pippin. This is not necessarily a make whole. We'll have to sit down through conversations to see what amount of dollars they need to extend the road and how much TIF proceeds they'll be able to generate from the TIF district and whether that will cover the road and if any of the district's proceeds would need to go towards extending the road. We won't know that till we start the conversations and running the calculations. But remember, with a TIF district, this is additional dollars received by the district that we would not receive if the development's going to go in anyway, and without the TIF district, we would not receive any additional revenue. So anything we receive, even if it's not 100%, maybe it's a little less to help with the road, which helps the community, would still be additional dollars for the district. However, all this MOU does is start the conversation and the calculations. It does not approve the TIF. The board would still have the TIF agreement in front of them to vote or reject at the time.
Now, is that taking it from Sovereign over to Pippin, right there by Neptune? Is that where?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
This is just starting the conversation.
Yes,
Right.
the MOU allows us to start the conversation to develop the TIF district.
Have you started conversations with the trustees in Colerain Township at all on this? Or have they responded?
They approved the MOU
Okay,
to start the process.
okay.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to ask I would recommend the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with Colerain Township to start the conversation of the Sovereign Road project.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions regarding this? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is a general business item. It is vendor contracts. The superintendent treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed, and all of these were budgeted for, as we've talked about, letting the public know in the past.
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions regarding the vendor contracts? Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is certificated licensed personnel items. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel items. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Motion passed 5-0.
All right, the next item will require an action item tonight. It is the expenditure reduction final version in a levy fail scenario. Chris, if you could pull up the attachments there, and then we'll pull up the other one if needed. There was 2 changes made since the last time we met as a Board of Education. If you scroll down, keep going. Thank you, right there. 2 areas that we changed. The first one is health assistance. It was a savings of $280,000 after doing intensive research into our IEPs, our medical health records, and what our students' needs are. We are going to have to require more nurses to be on staff than we originally counted. This will provide a nurse at a school halftime and a health assistant the other half of the day. The nurses will rotate between buildings, so it's only a reduction of 4. So that's changing the salary of 4 full-time nurses to 4 full-time health assistants. So that's a $60,000 savings this time. And then lastly, if you look at resource officers in the middle school, before it was all resource officers, high school attendance. It is now just middle school resource officers, and it is $120,000 savings. So there is nothing in the reduction saying remove high school resource officers, 2 from Colerain, 1 from Northwest, and our tenancy and truancy officers that work with every school in our district. So those are the 2 changes that were made last time. If you go on up to the top, just as a reminder, the first reduction was administrative student support positions. That's our dean of students at our middle schools and elementary. They are very important figures in our school. They are folks who can proactively work with our students on behavior intervention plans, behavior action plans, can help with assorted needs in conducting small groups. It is also elimination of elementary counselors for all 5 elementary buildings. We need elementary counselors in elementary buildings, but when you look at the amount of money and $8.5 million to $9.2 million that we need to reduce, this is what has to occur. RIF and AO positions, this will change the way phones are answered. It will be automated. You call and you will no longer get a person to talk to. You will go through the phone system like you do at the majority of businesses around the local area. RIF 24 secondary teaching positions. This will reduce the amount of AP and CCP classes offered. It will also reduce the amount of electives that are offered for our students. The state of Ohio only requires 20 credits to meet state and graduation requirements. Right now, if a student chooses to, they could get 6 to 7 credits a year. If you do the math after your junior year, you could have 20 to 21 credits depending on what you take. The next RIF is 20 elementary teaching positions, 2 cuts per building, and it's also eliminating gifted teachers per building. Gifted teachers are not required by the state of Ohio. We put them in there because it's important for our kids and it's important for our community. They would be reduced. Reduced classified staff K through 12. It's a combination of blended assistants, office professionals, our secretaries, and study hall. Reduced librarians. We have librarians that are on teacher contracts. They would be reduced classified assistant contracts. The savings of $280 is there. Reduced classified assistants in the classroom. These are for inclusion. So an IEP student comes into a classroom. If the IEP teacher cannot be there, or the intervention specialist, inclusion assistants are there, they would be reduced. Reduced daily contract hours for our custodians, level 4 cleaning. We currently are level 3, with level 1 being the highest. That would only clean the rooms 2 to 3 times a week, and it would also require that the teachers empty their garbage on assorted days. Eliminate all sports and music extracurricular activities, middle school and high school. This includes the administrator of athletics, 1 at each school. The nurses we changed and we talked about. So this total reduction package is $9,100,000 $170,755 in reductions. Plus, we already made $430,000 in reductions this year, so total combined is $9.6 million.
Are you talking about the ADs at the high schools?
Yes,
So you'll only have one.
we'll have none.
We'll have none.
None.
Question I have, are we ready for a question?
Sure.
Why do we need to vote on this now versus after this actually occurs in November?
Well, voting now shows the public the importance of passing this levy and what is a possible reduction as compared to if it doesn't pass in November. This list will stay as is, and because we have 5.5 million less in funding that we would receive, we would add an additional 5.5 million to this reduction list.
So it seems like, my question is more around the vote. It seems like this would be more information. If the levy passes or fails, that this could occur. But the actual voting seems like it would occur with the new board that would be put in place or the end of the existing board. Because the new board may have different ideas or agendas versus having to vote today, September 9th.
September 9th.
September 9th. Why, I don't understand why we need to vote.
Well, you have a lot of key things that affect. So it affects a lot of our teachers. They need to be aware of what's out there, especially if it does not fail. Our union needs to be aware. Our classified employees need to be aware of what's out there. And then our parents have the right to know if there's going to be sports and music programs out there and CP offerings and AP offerings, because if they don't know in advance what the reduction will be, then to put another 5.5 million, they're still guessing at the end of November. So now it's December, January. Why don't we know what the reductions are going to be? And this is the way that we, all school districts, do it in terms of finding out what the levy is, fail scenario versus a pass scenario.
And then you have the other chart where it has.
Yes.
like,
Chris, could you put the other one up, please?
So,
And it's not all going to fit on the screen.
it's fine, this part is fine. So, my question revolves specifically around the AO portion. You know, when we go through the total list, it mentions a lot about teacher reductions and the deans and counselors, but as far as the AO office section, how is the administration impacted in the levy fail, aside from having to answer the phones and making
We made those
copies?
reductions last May, and we reduced a assistant director, and we reduced all of the curriculum department except for the two folks you see sitting to my right. So we made those reductions last year, so they would be the first things to go. I believe the meeting was at Northwest High School, and we voted on those.
That was it.
As far as the teacher cuts, have you presented this to the teachers' union at all?
Yes, teachers union is aware. We have put these out. All teachers received an email. All classified employees did. They've all been aware. Teachers had input, classified employees with BLTs, and the schools all had input into what the reduction list would be. Now, do they want the reductions? No, none of us do.
Certainly not.
Nobody.
So,
Aren't they supposed to go up for renegotiation this year?
This is a contract year, but that will be put off until after the November election, or to see what happens with the levy.
Okay.
Amy, our need is like 8.5, is that correct? If there's a levy fail situation, it's 8.5?
We're currently in deficit spending this year, 8.5. Next year, it's over $11 million.
Okay. So for the 2021 year, you're saying there'll be 11 million. So this is a proposed 9.6 of the 11 million? Is that what you're? And I didn't see in there the reduction for busing, the $300,000 was saved. Where does that?
When I
fall
put that
in?
on there before, it was brought to our attention that reduction's already been made, so we did not add that on there.
Oh, we had the 430 that was already made for the administration.
Yes, so if you look at the levy reduction final sheet that's up there,
Yeah. See, it says plus the 430.
yeah, AO reductions that affect this year's spending. So we had an assistant director for $130,000, 2.25 curriculum supervisors for $210, special education supervisor. It's on the other sheet, Chris. A copy of levy. Now, if you scroll down and go to your right a little bit, back over a little bit, right there is your 430,000.
Right. The 430 is the administration portion, but that busing 1 mile reduction, I didn't see that in the total.
No, because we did, that's, could be part of the 430, so it could be 730 if you want to look at that, but that's just enforcing our district policy. And when I had that up there before, you said that, or others said it was a reduction we already made, so why is that up there? I only put that up there so as a reminder as to what we have done. That is not part of the 9.1 that is attached to the board document.
Right. But the 9.6 doesn't include that 300,000 in it.
No, it does not.
So it really should be closer to 10 million?
9.9.
No. So the total combined there, see how it doesn't mention?
And we're not sure of our exact savings on the 1 mile because of special education needs. So that's a floating number right now where the others are exact.
Any other questions?
I asked this the last meeting, excuse me. How much collaboration has gone on with the building administrators as far as like, did you say we need to cut X and then it was up to them to come up with a position? Or was it something that curriculum came and said, you know, this is what we need in the building? So can you walk me through that? And what say did the folks running the buildings have in this input?
So all building principals and assistant principals were asked to meet with their BLT staffs for recommendations. Those lists were then generated, sent over. All building principals went through and listed what they could see as a reduction in terms of their building. So the combination of them gathering feedback from their teaching and classified staff, us showing you guys this for the last month and a half for any recommendations you might have, that's where this list came from.
Todd, can you remind everybody what BLT stands for?
Building leadership team. It's comprised of teachers.
Anybody else? Todd, did you already make the motion?
No, if that's it, I'll make the motion. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the final expenditure reductions as listed.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a final comment that I don't know that this is something that, you know, outside of other districts, I'm speaking specifically about our district, that we should be voting on here today. I think that's something that should be up for discussion for adjustments in the case that this actually were to occur versus saying this is what's going to occur. That's my stance.
Anybody else? I just want to echo what I said last meeting. I don't want to see any of these cuts. And because of that, I'm working very hard with our levy committee and trying to talk to as many people as possible to explain the need for this levy. And, but we've been hearing for years that we need to be transparent. It's not any more transparent than this. You can't wait until a levy fails when we're in the deficit that we're in and then tell somebody what we're going to cut. Because then you're going to have people saying, well, I didn't know they were going to do that. Well, I didn't know that was included. And so we need to get this out here. We need people to understand this is a true urgency for this. And this is by far the hardest vote I've had to do in a long, long time.
I just want to ask you something. Todd, is there any way that you can streamline the AO at all, other than what you proposed? Can offices or directors be combined, which would be a savings? Or is that impossible?
Anything's possible. We made reductions last year. Everybody sitting up here and in the audience who works here is picking up the extra work that was part of some other people's job. And right now, to me, it is equivalent to what we need to run the district. It's hard enough to make sure you stay on top of getting grants and levies and monies, but I feel it's where it is. If the board wants us to do something else, then I've asked for a month and a half for feedback. And to this point, I haven't had that.
I mentioned about the salary reduction.
Yes, we did check on the salary reduction that you wanted teachers to take and classified employees. Daryl did check with the teachers union, and they did not want to participate that. He also checked with OPSI, and they did not. And those are the two. You can't just make a salary reduction. You have to negotiate it with the teacher's contract and OPSI.
Yeah, it wasn't just salary, I also mentioned administration.
Administration usually does what the teachers do, and they follow on that. But they don't have to if that's not what the board wants. But it was
Right.
specific to teachers at the last meeting.
No, I mentioned both.
Classified.
I said both.
Yeah.
And I only heard a response on the teacher side of things. I didn't hear a response.
There is no union for classified employees except for bus drivers, and there is no union for administration.
Right. So I didn't hear any counter proposal to the request to investigate a salary reduction from the administration side.
When, my understanding from the last meeting is you asked for teachers and classified.
I asked for both.
So if that's something the board wants to do, we can go back and check with administrators.
I just want to remind everybody, and I apologize, I don't remember exactly what year, but our entire staff was on a 3-year pay freeze, and we're still trying to crawl out from that. Once you go on a pay freeze, you can't ever catch up, especially when we're already mid to low, almost to the bottom. So we lost some good employees over that, and again, there's the need for the levy. Anybody else?
I have one, excuse me, one question. So, I know that a lot of due diligence has gone into this to pick, what the reduction is going to be. I don't think there's any way we can do all the due diligence. I mean, we can do as much as we can in the time that we were allotted to do that, and I say we collectively. If we find that there's something that we need that was on the cut list, what flexibility do we have at that point? Do we just bring that back up and we re-examine that and then, as a board, vote on that?
It's the board's agenda. You would go through Pam, get it on the agenda, and yes.
Because to one of the points we were talking about, we had a conversation about the play to pay. Like, is there an opportunity to increase that and keep different things? I mean, things could change. And I just want to know what the flexibility is that we have with kind of bobbing and weaving as we find things out. I know there's been an immense amount of work going into it. I understand that.
Yes.
So we're agreeing to this expenditure reduction, but if the board sees that maybe we can cut something else or whatever, can we revisit this?
It's your guys' agenda. You can talk amongst each other.
We need to make a decision on this. This is something that has been talked about, not one meeting, not 2 meetings, for quite a while. And this is something that a lot of time has gone into, and there's not one person that was a part of this decision, whether it was a teacher, any staff member, any AO, that any of this was easy. But our community is crying out for us to be transparent. We can't be waffling back and forth. We've got to make this decision, and then we got to get out there, and for those that don't want to see this happen, we all have to work together and get this levy passed. And as soon as we start saying that any of us know more than a whole committee of educators that do this every single day and flip-flopping around, you're going to lose support out in the community. It just, we need to get this vote and move forward.
And my questions are about, as you mentioned, being a community and making sure that everyone is involved, myself included. I'll put myself out there. If part of the salary sitting here at this table would help save someone in there, I'm more than happy to put it up there. So I just want to see that collective, amongst everyone in the district, and not just the teachers, not just the custodians, that everyone is taking a piece of the feeling if this levy were to not pass. That I don't want it to feel like this group of individuals is not impacted whether the levy passes or fails. And that's where my questioning is stemming from.
I think the other thing to be aware of is we have been going out to meetings, and the public is already saying at certain meetings, well, you know, when you reduce athletics, that doesn't include Colerain football. And these kind of conversations steer that. And so if you can be unified in what you do, no matter what it is, but when you start questioning or start talking about making changes, that gives doubt to the voter, and then that causes us large problems with trying to pass it. But that's your choice.
And my comment wasn't geared at that. My comment is, if we find that we have something that we need to buy, do, or whatever, what flexibility do we have in that? I understand that this comes down to dollars and cents. You know, this is a business, even though people don't want to see education as a business, it is a business. We work with numbers. And my point isn't to dilute it or second guess what we've been doing. That was not my comment, if that's what you're making an inference to. I'm just saying, like, if something comes up, what flexibility do we have to move on that? That's all.
Okay, call for the vote. Chris? Motion passed, 4 and 1 opposed. Motion passes. Okay.
For the
Tom.
superintendent's update, wanted to bring to everyone's attention an article that was in the Cincinnati Enquirer yesterday. It talked about the state ranking compared nationally. It stated that Ohio has made little improvement academically, ranked 21st out of 50 states, virtually unchanged from the past few years. The report also showed several drags on Ohio's scores, including poverty based on achievement gaps and huge funding discrepancies. I think the important piece there is part of their ranking is lower because they are not funding schools appropriately. Ohio ranked 48 out of 50 in the nation for wide discrepancies in achievement between poor students and their more affluent peers, according to the article. Overall, the report paints a picture of stagnation in K-12 improvement. Percent of 3- and 4-year-olds across the nation only grew 1.9%. That's not a good thing because less and less kids are not going to preschool, and that's where we need a bigger, larger amount to attend. And then the share of taxable resources spent on education has declined in Ohio from 3.6 to 3.3. In fact, we are now flat funded for the next 2 years, which means no matter what our enrollment goes up to, there will be no funding changes for our district. So again, Ohio ranked 39 out of 50 for poor funding of schools. So I think it ties directly into what we're doing. It was why we're going for a levy. This is an article that was in yesterday's Sunday's Enquirer in the local section. So I thought that was interesting in that the state is being evaluated on their lack of funding. Yet we have almost $3 billion in a rainy day fund saved by our governor, and yet funding has been reduced from schools as we move forward. So that's all I have.
Okay, at this time, we have community comments. You don't need to fill out a card, but we do ask, just raise your hand, and then we'll have you come up here because the people at home aren't able to hear you with your backs to the cameras. So is there anybody that has any question or comment of anything that was discussed at the meeting this evening? If you can just state your name. Thank you.
I'm Zoe Bloom. I'm a student at Northwest High School. So something that we are kind of feeling among the student body is kind of, I don't really like this wording, but like a lack of like support kind of from the board and kind of based on certain comments that have been said. So I think our thing is like, where do you guys kind of feel on how this is going to go and what we can do to make sure that nothing is disrupted in our normal daily lives?
I'll go first, though, because I usually have to go last. And I'm going to tell you, every time you get up here, it gives me hope. I will say for me personally, I think this is very important. And if we can get, if If we just get the votes from every household that has kids in our district, this levy will pass. So if alls we gotta do is get parents, all the parents that have kids in the schools to support this, then we can continue with this. So that's where I'm at, and I'm working really hard to hope that happens.
Mhm. Yeah, 'cause I think also like people within the community, not like, well, this happened and they can't do this and they can't do that. But I don't know, like, what do you guys think that like we should do when we come across those people?
I think what you did last meeting, where each of you spoke from your heart, how it directly impacts you and what your specific concern is, I think no matter who it is that's being negative or positive, you're going to have a bigger impact than any of us, because this is all about you. This is all about us doing the best we can and provide the most for all the students. So I believe you guys we've made sure to get you so that we put you to work on the levy committee,
Yes.
correct? Okay. But I would say just be open and honest with anybody that has questions, and at any time, if there's something that you don't know, feel free to call us. I know you can call Todd, you can call any of the administrators, and they will certainly get the answers for you or explain whatever it is.
Like, thank you.
Okay? Mhm. Thank you.
My name's Carrie Rovers. First, I just wanted to say thank you to Jim, Mark, Joe, Pam. They've been at nearly every levy committee, along with all of the administrators sitting up here, all of the administrators that are out here. They've showed up for everything. They realize how important this levy is. I'm angry. I'm angry that it was not a unanimous vote. I'm angry that every board member hasn't been at a levy meeting. I'm angry that every board member cannot see the angst in the principals, knowing that they're going to have to cut teachers. I'm angry that you don't realize as a board, as a whole unit, that this involves our kids, our parents, our teachers, our administrators, everyone. A no vote votes against our children and our community, and it's unacceptable. It is 100% unacceptable. No one wanted to make the decision to make these cuts. It was very difficult. But you know what? We've worked hard. We've tried to figure out exactly how to make them that would not just crush this district. And sadly, I mean, if this levy fails, it's just ruining our community. So I am angry. I'm angry that it wasn't unanimous. I'm angry that our community can watch this on Waycross Media and see that it was not unanimous. I just don't know what it's going to take to get a cohesive board. And hopefully, the elections in November will change that and give us cohesiveness and people who vote for our children, our community, our teachers, our administrators.
I'd like to respond.
Go ahead.
Can I respond to that?
We don't need
I'll say it in my comments. I'll say it in my comments.
Hi, my name is Kim Yates. I'm a very involved parent in the school district. I'm part of the levy committee. I was part of the strategic planning committee. I was part of the diversity committee. With that being said, I'm upset that Diane was called out just now. She is not a lone voice. Some of the opinions that she has, some of us, all the rest of us have. She has a voice that can speak that. Not all of us can. So just like she mentioned before, because I listened to the last meeting, there are people out there, I support the levy, I will vote for the levy, but there are questions that need to be asked. She's asking those questions that a lot of us parents have. So just because she voted no doesn't mean that she doesn't support the levy or that she doesn't care about our children. There was questions that needed to be asked, and she asked them. Maybe she didn't like the way it was answered, so that's why she voted no. So I was just here, I just wanted to, I was going to be a silent member back there, but I didn't like that way that was handled, so I had to speak up for her.
Thank you, Kim.
So my name is Tracy Miller. I also want to echo, I didn't like the fact that she was called out. But also too, I felt that Diane, Mark, and Joe specifically said, if this levy doesn't work out, can we revisit some of this after this? And I felt that that was not addressed by you, Pam. You had 3 board members that all of them pretty much all said the same thing. Can we revisit some things if the levy doesn't work out? And they weren't saying we're not going to vote on it today, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. But can we revisit something? And you didn't address that.
You mean if the levy doesn't pass? Is that what you mean?
Yes, but both Mark, Joe, and Diane first
I think
said,
Todd answered that, though. He said,
that's the board's agenda. That's what he said, which means he threw it back to you.
But he said if it doesn't pass, we would have to cut another 5.5 million.
But that's not
That's
what
what
I'm
I-
saying.
that's what I thought.
My thing is, no one addressed the fact of what Diane was asking. Can we revisit items if the levy doesn't pass?
We can
She-
revisit anything.
But my point is, it was not addressed. It was not signified. Todd threw it back to the board and said, it's the board's agenda. Y'all can do whatever y'all want to do. So then Joe said something, then Mark said something, and it still was never really brought up and addressed.
I mean, if the levy doesn't pass, we have to go, 7 weeks later, and we're going to have to cut 5.5 million more dollars.
I get all that. I think the question was, can it be revisited? That's all the question was, and I feel like that question was never answered.
and I don't know if I totally agree that Todd threw it back to us,
He
because
said it's the board's agenda. That's what he said.
to be honest, I am not in a position, the committee and the administrators are the ones getting paid. Todd's running the district. These are all the people that work for him. I personally, nor I don't believe anybody else up here, knows exactly what we can do to keep day-to-day operations going, what we can take away, what we can put together. We all have our opinions, but that doesn't mean we know what to do. I mean, to say, oh yeah, well, we can add this or subtract this, that is the decision over on this side of the room. They need to come to us and present if they want to change something. I don't think any, including myself, any one of us are in a position to say, oh, well, let's go ahead and add, I don't know, I can't even think off the top of my head, add the counselors back in. Well, okay, we need to rely on our treasurer to tell us, well, okay, we just added, and I'm making these numbers up because I don't know. We just added $200,000 back in. Amy, keep us check. Now what do we have to subtract? I mean, I don't think the recommendations should come from the administration. So, yeah, I mean, at any time, something could be flip-flopped or whatever, or who knows, we might have another mandate and takes another $500,000 away from us. And I would think the administration would need to come to the board and say, guess what, we need to cut even more. Or, hey, we just got some $500,000 grant, and hey, we can add something back. Can we all collectively talk about it? But to just say, can we revisit it, not know, when we know if this doesn't pass, we're gonna have to cut $5 million more. There's not a lot here. I mean, it's not like there's a whole bunch of choices and there's a whole bunch of fluff. I mean,
I understand that. I'm
you
just
know, and
saying,
so I guess I then if I didn't answer.
My point was, I felt that you had 3 board members that said, can we revisit it? Can we talk about some other options or whatever? And you did not say, yes, we could do that or something. That's my point.
Okay.
And so, I mean, and I'm a concerned parent. I just had a child graduate from here. I have an 8th grader. I mean, yes, I'm going to vote for the levy, but also too, I'm going to also figure out what's the right makeup of this board, because I don't agree with the right makeup of the board at this time. So.
Somebody else, go ahead.
My name's Logan Rodenbeck. I'm a student at Northwest High School. I'd just like to say how the board represented itself tonight was really shocking to me. How there's 5 of you sitting up here and 4 of you voted for something that's for us. It is our education. It's not yours. You had yours. The way that you guys voted really made the student body just want to die. I mean, the way you guys did it, I wish, we need more ways to figure out how students can make sure our voices are heard, because we do not want to have education that is bare minimum. it's it's unbearable to think that a student who's taking CCP classes and AP classes will not have that anymore, and we won't have any electives or anything of that sort. And I mean, I've already thought of next year where I'm just leaving the district altogether, sorry. I have enough points to graduate. I could graduate this year and go straight to college. And I don't want to do that. It's my junior year. Next year will be my senior year. What are ways that the student body can get more involved? What can we do to try and push this levy to pass?
Well, again, and I know you weren't at the last meeting, but after the meeting, I'll introduce you now. Carrie Robers is our co-chair to our levy campaign. If you could get with her. Like I said before, last meeting, the kids that got up, and I know you guys just did it spur of the moment, so it wasn't anything rehearsed. And I forget how many of you spoke, but everybody had a different passion, and I think that needs to get in front of people. So we need to figure out ways to make that happen. Because, and again, this vote was taken, and I don't think anybody up here, anybody, if we could have stayed home and not had to have done this vote, there's nobody that wants to vote yes or no on this. This is tough. And I know it's been hard for everybody that's worked on it and tried to figure out how to do it. But the bottom line, the state keeps taking money away from us, and we don't have enough. So what we need to do is educate the community on our need and how we're not wasting money. And we will definitely figure out a way to get you guys to help us. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Austin Morgan. I'm a teacher at Northwest High School. I also live in the district. My daughter's 2.5, so I have to make that decision coming soon. And I think the vote had to be made. I know from a professional standpoint, I want to know where I stand. 5 teachers are getting cut from Northwest, and I got to think, is that me? You know, if it does fail, I'll be the first one to say I don't want to work at Northwest anymore. Why would I? And it's just scary, to be honest. My wife is scared. We put our house up for sale. Jim mentioned it at the last meeting. I mean, so I've worked with all of them over there. I went to Northwest Local for 13 years. This is my 9th year working here. So, you know, it's weird to me if you don't support it. I know last night I'm on a walk, saw 4 people walking their dog, stopped and talked to every one of them. Hey, are you going to be out and vote? So at the end of the day, the vote had to be made, and I think it's transparency, letting everyone know who's gone. It's been a stressful start to the school year. I mean, you guys don't get to see it, but teachers are on edge, and it sucks, and I'm on edge. Obviously, I didn't think I was going to talk. It's a little weird getting choked up here, but I just wanted to comment, not throwing anyone under the bus. I just think we need to do our part, and everyone's got to get involved. And I like seeing students from my school back there and up here speaking their mind, and just hopefully we can get it done.
Thanks, Austin.
Can I say something?
When we get to community comments, we'll be there. Brunette.
Jim said something.
Go ahead.
They all did, and I didn't get to say that either.
I just want to say something to the teacher there. When they made cuts in the public school system of Cincinnati, I was feeling that angst too, because I thought I was going to get whacked. Luckily, we didn't, but there were some teachers in the building that did get the pink slip. But we're always with that fear for lack of funding or programs and stuff like that. I would hate to see that happen, especially to you.
I'll wait my turn, as we mentioned, for the community
Okay.
comments, even though others got to speak during comments, and I waited as it was instructed by the president, but other individuals had the chance to speak during, but I will wait for the community
Okay.
comment.
Is there anybody else? Yes.
She told me not to. She asked me not to.
Yeah, but Jim said
That's her
something, that's
husband.
why she.
No.
That's her
Well,
husband.
he did.
He gets different rules than the rest of us on the board. That's why he's allowed to speak when not.
Zoe Bloom again. So this is more of just like a comment, and honestly, the fact that we spent 5 minutes talking because people felt that somebody's question wasn't answered is upsetting. Like, we're here because our education is going to be ruined if this thing fails. So the fact that people are kind of upset that your question didn't get answered is kind of upsetting, when the focus should be on the students and the fact that we're gonna have nothing if it fails. We're gonna have our core classes and that's it. Nothing to keep us motivated so that we can do these bigger things. That's all I had.
Is there anybody else? Okay, Joe, board member?
I think I had what I had to say when that, and I can call you a young man because you're a lot younger than me. But I understand, I have great empathy for all the teachers, especially the principals of those high schools that got to go to those teachers and say, if the levy doesn't pass, I'm sorry, but thank you for your service. That doesn't get it for me.
So there will be a lot of explanation about my no vote. Today is September 9th. My no vote circled around the fact that I did not support the items that were listed on here, and that those were the ultimate items that we would need to cut if the levy were to fail. This is not November 5th. This is not my vote for the levy. I live in the district. My kids go to the public school system. This impacts my personal children that I gave birth to. I'm not voting today necessarily how I'll vote November 5th. November 5th is for the levy. I have voted for the levy in the past. Yes vote. Today, November 9th, was not that vote. As far as the anger on the reason, so the explanation on what my no vote is around is that what was presented here, there were numbers that were off, there were numbers that were missing, we need 8.5, we need 9.6. Why do we have to vote today about what we're going to cut? You can make a list, this is what's on the list, and this is what's cut, and as we talked before, it's still flexible, it still can change even if we vote today. Why do we need a vote today? So I voted no because I'm not in support of putting a vote in today. That's what my no vote is. It's not about the students. I couldn't care for you more. I have dedicated my personal time to coming to do like third grade reading guarantees. I'm in the schools doing other activities, whatever, on my own personal time. I could not care for the students and the staff of this district more than you. I've lived here for 18 years. My home is impacted by this. My no vote today is not saying I'm opposed to the levy. So as far as a unanimous vote, and you want it to be unanimous, whatever, the reasoning why I voted no is that I did not agree with the fact that we had to vote today, and I did not agree with the list that was presented, that was the ultimate list that would need to be cut. That's why I voted no. And also as far as being on the levy committee, or attending the levy meetings, we were told that there should be only 2 board members at the meeting, otherwise there's going to be some needs for representation. So it's kind of like suggested that these 2 members already want to be there. I go to everything I'm invited to and everything I'm allowed to. I am not going to the levy meetings because I do not support the levy. So please don't put that in the community. And I want to clear the record for the community if that's what's being put out there, that I'm avoiding the levy committees. I'm not. I am not attending the levy, or haven't attended the levy meetings up to this point because there were already other 2 board members that were in there representing the board. You don't need a whole nother 5 members there. Me not attending the levy meetings does not mean I did not support the levy. So please, community, get that message, understand that message. Let's see. And then we, kind of already spoke about, thank you so much, Tracy and Kim, for your support. And I said, when you were up here, you were allowed to get the responses. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give the immediate response to Carrie when she made hers, but I said I waited patiently my turn and giving mine during my my board comments. So, okay, hopefully that'll explain more on why I voted no and why there was a unanimous vote. And I'm more than willing. You can email me at any time. You can talk to me after the meeting if you need further clarification on why I voted no tonight. This is not November 5th.
I want to answer Zoe's question. of how this impacts me. I have a daughter that's a sophomore at Colerain High School. I voted on things that will definitely impact her. She will potentially not have some AP classes that she would partake in. I have a ton of friends that work in this district, good friends, and I know the impact of this. In the 2 years that I've been on the board, what I've seen is everything's good when everything's good. And then when we've had this 5-year forecast since 2012, and now we have to deal with the reality of it. It's very sobering. Nobody here wants to cut anything, but if you've lost your job, you don't upgrade your dish package to a $500 a month dish package. You start cutting things. And the 2 years I've been here, the school district is very lean. There's not just tons and tons and tons of waste. And I don't believe that there's tons and tons of mismanagement. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of relationship issues from what I consider frontline educators and administrators with the administrative staff from whatever reason. And all this stuff is a distraction from Zoe and the other kids that come up here and speak. This is about education. There is a business component to this. And unfortunately, or fortunately I guess for some, our community has not had to pay for the quality education. And now it's time for the community that they're going to have to partake in this and support this levy if we want to continue what we've been doing for X number of years. I think the thing that makes me most angry is this is kind of getting drug into this political arena, and it's not a political arena. This is our children's education. And it's more than just educating them. I talk to people who work in the district. We feed kids, we clothe kids. I had somebody tell me that that's not our responsibility. That is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to take care of our kids as a community because that's what our community does. And I guess the last thing I just want to say is the fact that we, at times, or maybe more times than not, we use the kids as a shock absorber, I said at the last meeting, is appalling to me. We need to do what we need to do for the kids, and then if we have to work things on the back end to figure it out, that's what we do. All I can say is the levy needs to pass. I mean, it is what it is.
Very well said. Austin, I get what you're talking about. If I was a teacher and I was in your guys' position, I would be worried about my job too. I hate to hear that you put your house up for sale, but that's the reality of where we are at. Look, I've been working my senior year 40 years ago. I worked to try and get a levy passed. Zoe, we put signs together, we put flyers out as a student at Northwest High School. I did that. That levy did not pass, but that didn't stop me from staying in the district, raising my kids, having my business, because I felt that was the right thing to do for the community. And I like Mark said, the community, we've got to step up as a community in a district to give you guys a shot at a great education and not watered down education where you can't take your AP classes or your CCP classes. This is important for you guys. It's not for me, it's for you guys. And that's why I continue to stay in the district, because I believe in the community. And I don't know if it was Pam or whatever, said get with Carrie. We can find stuff for you to do. But I really think, I didn't want to vote on cutting 9.1 million in cuts, but we've got 57 days to our election. We're not waiting until 10 days, this is what we're going to cut. Everybody knows, here you go. You got 57 days. I think that's very transparent. I mean, I don't know what else we can do. Nobody, all 5 of us up here, we don't want to cut this. This is for you guys. So that's kind of where I'm at on it.
I just want to finish up with Austin. When you said you went for a walk last night and you ran into 3 or 4 people, sometimes we don't realize, but just talking to two people here, a person there, and sometimes you get feedback that you didn't even realize was out there, and this was, whether it's true or it isn't, if somebody believes that's what we're doing or not doing, then we need to find out and get back to them and let them know that's not really what we're doing, or this is what we're doing. But the communication, one vote at a time. And the kids you ask, I mean, you need to go home and talk to your parents. And talk, like I said last time, talk to your neighbors and anybody you know, your friends' parents. And especially if you have older siblings that are still in the district, make sure they're registered voters. I know I've been seeing a lot on social media as far as the date, the deadline to get registered, to be a registered voter if you're 18, and how to get an absentee ballot. All those kind of things, I truly believe if it's sent around from student to kids, they're going to take the time to read it and stay on them. Did you get that? So, you know, we'll just continue to work together and hope that this vote tonight doesn't mean anything come November 6th. Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.